Young and Restless next 2 weeks, June 23rd to July 4th. Adam's dramatic fall, Billy plots revenge. Monday, June 23rd, Kane Ashby and Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, have a private talk. Remember, Kane Ashby said he was going to talk to everybody one-on-one, and Victor says that he and his family are going back to Genoa City. But Kane tries to get him to agree to stay, says he's got a lot planned. Victor thinks Kane is acting like his scheming dad, Colin Atkinson. Then Kane reveals that Colin died 6 months ago, but he had atoned for his life of crime. Victor does apologize and, offer condolences for Kane's loss, but Victor still suspects Kane's company was set up with Colin's dirty criminal money. Kane says it wasn't and said Colin found out he was dying 6 years ago. Kane says Colin cleaned up his act, gave back what he stole, and he and Colin sold his land in Australia, which apparently was a good bit. They invested all that money in crypto and made a killing. So Kane actually offers Victor all of Dumas Holdings if he will let him take over control of Chancellor, but Victor says, no way is that going to happen. Young and the Restless spoilers, Jack and Nikki's concerns, assessing the threat of Kane's ambitions in Genoa City. At the same time, Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, and Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, are debating if Victor should be worried about Kane. And of course, Jack knows him well and says he does not think anybody should underestimate Kane. Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, doesn't really know much about Kane. They never had a lot of overlap. He's not really invested in any of this except for being worried about his mom, Nikki, if Kane is indeed after Chancellor, which of course he is. Billy and Sally's investigation. Unraveling Kane's past and questioning his motives. Billy gives Sally Spectra, Courtney Hope, a little history lesson on Kane and their intertwined past. If you remember, Kane conned Jill Abbott, Jess Walton, into believing he was her son and pretended to be Billy's half-brother. Jack disagrees when Billy tries to tell her that Jill and Catherine Chancellor, Jean Cooper, used to pit him against Kane. It's clear that Jack doesn't remember it that way at all. Kane tells the group that his charade of pretending to be Dumas just got tiring and he's going back to GC as Kane Ashby. No more Aristotle stuff. And he says the party is a big thank you for all of them for everything he learned from them over the years to me. That sounds like a big fat lie. This all seems like an elaborate Agatha Christie trap. Young and the Restless spoilers, party dynamics and suspicions, unmasking Kane's true intentions at the gala. Devon Hamilton, Brighton James, is irritated, and Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, runs off as Kane insists he only used the Dumas name on the invitations because he didn't think anybody would come if he put Kane Ashby on them. Probably accurate. Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, is fussing to Amanda Sinclair, Miss Hale Morgan, who tells Red that she really respects Kane. And Amanda insists that he is legit and Kane's a successful mogul. But Amanda also refuses to tell Phyllis exactly what Kane's plans are. Phyllis does say she admires how Kane has reinvented himself when she's talking to Nick at the party. Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, tells Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer, she thinks Kane is hot and Kane tells her that Kane's family are all criminals, which only intrigues Audra more. Billy and Sally are wondering if Kane wants Chancellor, but Jack tells them he thinks there's more to it than that. Billy and Jack also wonder if Jill knows what her precious Kane has been up to. Young and the Restless spoilers. Lily rants to Damien. Billy thinks Catherine's will is part of this mess because she always wanted Kane to run Chancellor. Sally's done. She tells Billy, let's just go home. Let's launch Abbott.com with this Dumas reveal story. But Billy wants to say and see if there's anything else that they can find out, anything they need to know. Plus, Lily rants to Damien Kane, Jermaine Rivers, and says she shunned Kane because he forgave his thieving father, Colin. If you remember, Colin stole Devon's inheritance a while back. Amanda was part of that acting as a lawyer, but it didn't seem like she was, an actual conspirator. And Damien and Devon also want to go home, but Lily won't until she finds out everything that she can. Intrigue and alliances. Chance's arrival and shifting loyalties at the Chancellor Gala. Then on Tuesday, Michael Baldwin, Christian LeBlanc, and Lauren Fenmore, Tracy Bregman, show up late to the party and she asks what they missed and they get filled in. Chance Chancellor, Connor Floyd, is also there. He arrives around the same time as Michael, Lauren, and Abby Newman, Melissa Ordway, do. Jack and Nikki are picking each other's brains. Obviously, it's about Kane versus Victor. Abby has an awkward run-in with Chance. And of course, the big question is, he's not a big businessman. He's a cop. Why was he invited? Is it about Chancellor Industries and him being the real grandchild of Jill? So next week, Kane has a conversation with Jack and Diane Jenkins, Susan Walters. And remember, he's doing all these individual chats with everybody. And Victor presses on Kane to get him to spill the beans on his plan. And Kane tells him some, but I'm sure not all. Upcoming drama. Alliances, confrontations, and unexpected twists in Genoa City. Wednesday, June 25th. Damien is there to comfort Lily as she's irritated with Kane. Chelsea Lawson-Newman, Melissa Claire Egan, and Adam are digging around for some info, and I suspect it's about Dumas. And Adam hits pay dirt. Plus, Amanda gives Phyllis an assist for her to get some alone time with Kane to pitch herself. And Amanda reminds Kane on Wednesday to not underestimate Victor. Kane says he won't, but also says Victor keeps underestimating him. Underestimate is the word for the week. There's a whole lot of that word being used. Phyllis interrupts Amanda talking to Kane and says she would never underestimate him on Young and the Restless. Young and the Restless spoilers. Holden saves Claire. On Thursday, June 26th, Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, saves Claire Grace Newman, Haley Aaron, from some sort of situation. She's telling Holden it's her good fortune to run into him. Holden's telling Claire that he's the lucky one. It's a very strange and flirty vibe. So the question is what went on with her that she's in this frame of mind to be talking to him like that. Probably doesn't help that she needs somebody there for her and Kyle is in France. Speaking of, Audra gets Kyle all worked up and Billy and Sally are plotting against Kane by the end of the week, and this may be about Chancellor. Maybe Billy doesn't want Kane or Victor, either one, to have it. I could see that. Friday, June 27th. Lily gets bold with Damien. Looks like we might be getting some real romance between these two. I mean, Damien's been into Lily for a while. And she's furious at Kane. So, Damien might be who she turns to for some stress relief. Phyllis and Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, get a horrible reminder of their energy in Genoa City was crackling once again. Whispers of betrayal floated through the marble halls of Newman Enterprises like ghosts refusing to rest, and at the center of it all stood Adam Newman, hands in his pockets, the hint of a smirk playing on his lips as he stared out the window of his office. He had once believed he could control the storm, but this time, the tempest he'd created was turning on him. Adam's latest scheme had been bold, even for him. In a desperate bid to prove his worth to Victor and to reassert his dominance, he'd orchestrated a secret deal, one that risked Newman Media's stability. The plan had seemed perfect in his mind. Sabotage the competition, boost profits, and once again become the family's golden son. But one small leak, one misplaced email, and the truth had come crashing down like glass shattering on concrete. Victoria Newman, cold and calculated as ever, had wasted no time exposing him. She presented evidence at the executive meeting that left Adam cornered, his father staring at him in disgust, and Nick shaking his head in bitter disappointment. Even Victor's usually reserved voice cracked with fury. "You've done it again, son," he'd said, his tone like thunder. "Every time I think you've changed, you remind me why no one trusts you." For Adam, the sting wasn't in the accusation. It was in the look of betrayal on his father's face. He'd fought his entire life to be recognized as an equal to Victoria and Nick, but the harder he tried, the deeper he dug his own grave. And now, with his career on the line, Adam's world was beginning to crumble. While Adam faced public humiliation, another man was watching from the shadows, Billy Abbott. Billy had been waiting for this. The memory of Adam's past sins, the hit and run that cost Delia's life, the manipulations, the taunts, still burned in Billy's veins like poison. Though he had told himself he'd moved on, the sight of Adam falling from grace was intoxicating. "Karma's finally doing her job," Billy muttered to himself, gripping the edge of his desk at Chancellor Winters. But watching wasn't enough. Not for Billy. He wanted Adam to feel what he had felt. Loss, fear, desperation. And so began his quiet campaign of revenge. Billy started small, using his connections in the media world to feed rumors about Adam's incompetence and moral corruption. Gossip columns began hinting that Adam had embezzled funds from Newman Media, and soon, the whispers grew into full-blown headlines. "Adam Newman, genius or criminal?" one article screamed. Billy couldn't help but smirk as he read it over his morning coffee. But that wasn't the endgame. Billy wanted to dismantle Adam's reputation piece by piece. He reached out to Sally Spectra, who had once loved Adam but had been burned by his obsession with redemption and control. "You know what he's like," Billy told her, his voice low and convincing. "You could expose him for what he really is, and people would finally listen." Sally hesitated, torn between her lingering affection and her newfound independence. But Billy's words lingered. She'd watched Adam self-destruct before, and maybe, just maybe, it was time he faced consequences he couldn't charm his way out of. As Adam tried to repair his public image, he began noticing strange occurrences. Anonymous tips to reporters, key investors backing out of deals, confidential files going missing. At first, he blamed Victoria, certain that she was behind the smear campaign. He even confronted her in the Newman boardroom, his voice filled with venom. "You always wanted to see me fail," Adam snapped. "Congratulations. You've finally done it." Victoria, unfazed, leaned back in her chair and folded her arms. "Don't flatter yourself, Adam. You're perfectly capable of destroying your own career without my help." Her denial only deepened Adam's paranoia. He turned inward, lashing out at his staff, alienating allies, and drinking more than he should. The more he tried to fight back, the more the walls closed in. Then, one night at society, Adam's unraveling became painfully public. He'd gone there to confront Sally, having learned that she'd been approached by Billy. His voice was sharp, his anger barely contained. "You think you're better than me? You think teaming up with Billy Abbott makes you some kind of hero?" he hissed across the table. Sally's eyes glistened with restrained fury. "No, Adam. I think it makes me free." Before he could respond, Billy arrived, cool, collected, almost smug. "Careful, Adam," he said, leaning against the bar. "Wouldn't want to add harassing women in public to your list of scandals." The room went silent. All eyes turned to them. Adam's composure snapped. "You're enjoying this, aren't you, Billy? Watching me fall?" Billy smirked. "Enjoying it? No. Savoring it? Absolutely." The tension broke like a lightning strike. Adam lunged, shoving Billy hard enough to send him into a table. Glass shattered, and the sound echoed through society. Devon and Abby rushed to break it up, but the damage was done, literally and figuratively. Cell phones were already out, cameras recording. By the next morning, the video had gone viral. Victor was livid. "You're an embarrassment to this family," he roared during a meeting, slamming his fist on the desk. "I can't protect you anymore." And just like that, Adam was out, fired from Newman Media, his name dragged through every gossip blog in Genoa City. But as Billy celebrated his victory, a strange emptiness crept in. Lily noticed it first. "You got what you wanted," she said softly one evening. "So why do you look miserable?" Billy sighed, staring into his glass. "Because now that he's gone, I don't know what to do with all this anger." Lily's expression softened. "Maybe it's time to let go, Billy. Revenge doesn't bring peace, it just leaves scars." Across town, Adam packed his things in silence. His fall from grace was complete. No job, no allies, no family willing to defend him. Yet as he looked out over the city skyline one last time, a flicker of determination sparked behind his eyes.